call this special meeting to order. The date is March 18th, 2026. The time is 3:04 p.m. And if you would please do a roll call for the chance, and then we'll do our pledge of allegiance and invocation.
Commissioner Burton? Here. Commissioner Moore? Here. Commissioner Lori?
Here.
Commissioner DeVito? Present. Karen Myers?
Present.
Derek Martin, City Manager?
I'm here.
Keith Harris, Public Works?
Here.
And Pamela Taylor, Code Enforcement.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Moore, if you would, lead us in our invocation, please. Everyone stand, if you are able.
Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for our gathering today. We thank you for our rising on this morning to this new day. We thank you for your grace and for your mercy, and we ask that you be with us today. Have mercy upon us. Give us strength, knowledge, and understanding to do your will. Help us to be pleasing in your sight. Lord, we ask that you help us to do those things that will be pleasing. Ask that you bless us, bless the bereaved families on today, those that are sick and shut in. Bless all of us that are eager in attendance on today. Have mercy upon us. Continue to give us what we need in order to do that will. All these blessings we do ask in that son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mayor,
Yes.
before we get started,
Yes.
I have a procedural issue to ask about.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Okay, so this is a special meeting, so we're intending to vote, right? I believe on Friday, March 13th, I received a copy of this agenda, but as far as I can tell, there was never any paperwork prepared that showed that the mayor called this meeting. I did not get any paperwork to that effect.
And I was told by the clerk that notification was made via email, and then she notified me about that.
Well, wait a minute, it just said the city manager's, sorry, let me back
I
up.
don't want to go through this every time we have a special meeting, we have a special meeting.
Yeah, I asked to make sure that we were in
Go
compliance.
ahead.
Okay, but it's my understanding from our charter that it's the mayor's prerogative to call a special meeting. But as far as I can tell, there's no paperwork signed by the mayor calling the special meeting. There's just an email that says the city manager says we're having a special meeting. And somehow.
You know,
it
we're
seems-
here, let's just keep the special meeting going.
Okay, but we are supposed to follow our charter, and I believe we had direction previously from the city attorney that said there should be paperwork by the mayor.
I don't remember that. It was about notification to each within 48 hours, and we did that via email with the notification. I got with the clerk on it to make sure if we need to look at the protocol a little closer and do something specific, we can definitely do that in the future. And I apologize if we didn't follow something procedurally correctly, but I made sure that we did through the clerk, and I was assured that we did.
But I know in the past, I know it's at times in the past when we've called a special meeting, or I've had to call a special meeting, that sometimes it's just, there's been basically a phone call. How would you like this? We have to call a meeting, and then the agenda, you want it sent to your house. How do you want that done?
Right.
I don't know, but I'm going to go get the charter. Commissioner Lori, you have the charter. Can you pull that up for us and read for us specifically? Because I don't recall Dawn actually saying that the mayor has to sign a document. I know this last time to appease everyone, we did sign a document,
Right.
just to make sure.
Now,
This one was kind of we had a meeting and said, since we were going to be here anyway at that time, and we kind of they have a situation that they needed addressed that came about after Thursday's meeting. So if if you read that language to us,
I got it right here.
please.
Sure. Meetings of the city. Special meetings may be called by the mayor, commissioner, or any other 3 commissioners upon at least 12 hours written notice to each member served personally or left at his or her usual place of residence with some member of his or her family over the age of 15. This time requirement may be waived by the consent of all commissioners. The city commission shall take reasonable steps to ensure timely notice to the public of such special meetings, which at least shall include notification of the local press and posting notice of meeting at such a location designated by the commission for this purpose.
So did you send out did anybody get written email
I got an email.
from the clerk?
I got an email.
Email.
Okay, but
That said that.
Because I'm trying to back up here a minute. It's the mayor's prerogative to call a special meeting. So what's not reflected is any documentation that the mayor has called a special meeting or on what subject.
I
This,
understand.
it looks like the staff, it looks like we are delegating to the staff. So what I'm suggesting is that we always clearly reflect the documentation that the mayor has called a
I
special meeting.
understand, and we have done that at times in the past, and so from here forward,
Yes.
if you had this concern, though, please, before we get to the meeting, if this was a concern, that you bring it to his attention, and so that we can get it addressed so he can address it before we get here, if in case we do fail to get that done correctly.
I'm doing the best I can
I
because I didn't, as I told y'all, I was not available Monday through Wednesday. I had company from out of town that I rarely get to see. And I didn't even realize till Sunday evening, I thought the special meeting was a reworking of the workshop. I didn't even understand what financial discussion was meant to indicate. The city manager called me on Sunday evening, and that's fine, there was a lot going on last week. And I'm happy to hear that there's a good health report about a family member of one of our staff, that things are better. A lot going on last week, but one, I think we are supposed to have documentation that the mayor has called it, and secondly, I did not see, I was at City Hall yesterday, I did not see any posting. Usually we post our agendas on the doors of City Hall, and I did not see that posted. So I think an alert was sent out by email, but there wasn't anything posted on the door for people who don't get those alerts. So obviously, as Mr. Burton has pointed out, we are here, we are all agreeing to this meeting, I'm assuming. And just in future, I think we need that documentation. I think Dawn has spoken to it. And as well, especially when it's a special meeting, it's helpful if it's posted on the City Hall door, because people do see that.
And we've always done that in the past.
Right,
I mean,
but it's-
right now, though, commissioners, I'm gonna ask that, we're limited with the Melanie when she's available. She's got a lot of duties on her for the limited amount of time that she's contracted for. And so we are at a significant, deficit
Yes.
where that is concerned. So from here forward, by all means, we will make sure, Mr. Martin, if you would please make sure, at this time though, the mayor, am calling this special meeting, and I get someone to approve the calling of this special meeting that I had done. If somebody would, let's do a motion, I need a motion,
I
and then
move,
that should take care of it.
I move that, I approve of the mayor's calling a special meeting.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
We have a proper motion and a second. Can we do, I'm gonna do a verbal vote. If, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Nay, okay. So that hopefully for anybody that has some concerns, we've tried to rectify it. There's anytime, we have issues, there's always a way to rectify it. We have to try to find a way to rectify it. So hopefully that will take care of and alleviate any concerns that outside the public might have. And we are live, correct, Pam?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we are live, and it did go out for the notices for those that are in line with that.
Yes.
Okay. And this came about, do you want to go ahead, if everyone's ready, we can go ahead and
Yes,
get
ma'am.
started?
So real quick, to just set the deck, you all have questions and answers in front of you that were posed by Commissioner DeVito. I'm sorry I didn't have them ready in time to email everybody, but I did give you all copies. Basically, we're about to go over that. I have a briefing sheet to kind of outline the circumstances surrounding the recommended budget reallocation. So if I may, Mayor? I wanted to outline the circumstances surrounding the recommended budget reallocation and provide clarity on recent findings related to the funding approach for the water utility extension project. This is, of course, CDBG North Main, correct, Keith?
Yes, sir.
And so the city had anticipated reimbursement through the CDBG funds. However, between the advancing of the project and the submission of the CDB application, the completed portion of the scope of work was actually removed from the final package, therefore not eligible for reimbursement under the CDBG program. It appeared to be a result of communication breakdown rather than a result of any fault of any one individual. While the work will not be reimbursed through CDBG funds, it was both necessary and cost effective. It ensured the extension and the looping of the water utility from Oakwood to 17, improved service to current residents along that corridor, supported future growth along the corridor, and completing the work before the county's roadway improvements avoided an estimated doubling construction cost on our end had directional drilling been required, especially considering that the awarded bid for Badger drilling on the CDBG project was $587,000, and the budget without the removed scope was $598,000 actually given through the grant. So staff is requesting that the city commission approve the reallocation of $109,674 within the existing Better Place Plan budget by drawing from the remaining balances in the infrastructure and equipment accounts to fund the priority expenditure without increasing total cost or delaying ongoing projects and needs.
Okay, commissioners, we have, and we're gonna do this by resolution, is that correct?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
So you have a resolution in front of you, if I can get, I'll entertain a motion.
I would like to add one thing, Mayor. The language, I would like to just put in here, the actual project, because right now it speaks about moving the money around, but it doesn't talk about a project, and I would like to add that to the resolution.
Okay. Okay,
So what paragraph, Mayor, if I may ask a question?
yes.
So, I'm sorry, I had this identified, but what paragraph is that again, where it says priority project? Okay, it's the third whereas clause, is that right?
Yes. A priority expenditure. And so right there, I'd like to put in there what the priority expenditure is for, and that would be for the project done on Oakwood to 17 for the CDBG water main project.
I would just put Oakwood domain,
Oakwood to main water main. Okay,
See,
because
yeah,
it's not the
okay,
CDBG.
and I apologize, I didn't have that in there.
that's okay,
Okay.
that's okay.
The rest of the resolution.
I'll entertain a motion with changes?
I move that we approve resolution 2026-07 with the change of adding the water main project as the city manager had specified the wording.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a proper motion and a second. Okay, commissioners, do we have some discussion? Sure, we've got some questions.
Yes, so, Mr. Martin, you're reading, we don't have what you're reading from that explains how this somehow got eliminated from, originally, we had thought that this $110,000 would be part of the CDBG request, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you have a document there that explains how that got left out?
In your question and the answers,
Right.
which everybody has,
Right.
that explanation is in there as well. My briefing sheet is a briefing to the briefing, so I didn't have that for everybody, that's just my intro, so I don't goof up.
Okay, and you're saying, so specifically, this money is related to the CDBG water main project, correct? Because
Necessary. And
Right,
necessary.
It's needed and necessary.
it's
It's part of the plans.
Yes.
right, as part of the plans for, and we're calling that the the North Main Water Project?
CDBG North Main, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Because it will go from Central Avenue all the way up Main Street
Yes.
to the 308.
And
Not to be confused with the North Main Water Tower project that we have legislative
Yeah, this is
appropriation.
correct, it's Main Street, totally
Okay.
separate.
my suggestion would be that that clarification be added to the resolution, that it's the Oakwood to Main Water Main project related to the CDBG North Main Street grant, even though it's not part of the funding. And when we spoke, I mean, I think that would be a good idea to add it, because we have quite a few projects going on. When we spoke, you, and you gave me just a quick briefing, you said two things: that technically this does not qualify for repair and replacement funds,
Yes,
because there's no portion of this that is repair or replace.
correct.
New
So-
installation.
It's a brand new installation, 800 feet.
Okay, this particular, but the CDBG project is replacing, correct?
There are portions that are being replaced, yes,
Yes.
Okay,
and some that are new, is that correct?
Yeah, there'll be a bunch of it that's new, but it's gonna,
You're going to be replacing a current main.
yeah.
Correct.
And so it's,
Correct. But where the work was on 17, on that corridor, there was no main in there at that time. There was no replacement of any existing line. That was brand new line to connect Oakwood to 17 and create a loop.
it creates a loop so that there's better water pressure that
Right.
goes around it. So there wasn't one there that they abandoned. It's just an additional tie-in to make that loop.
correct, and just so we all understand what the criteria is, so for example, even though this is connected to existing service, because it is new pipe, we cannot, pay for it under repair and replace.
Correct. And that was a discussion that I had with our finance director, and he also felt and concurred that he believed that that was the right way to go, is not using those funds, but to use it from Better Place Plan.
Okay, and then the second thing you said is that there's really not sufficient funds in repair and replace.
The total fund is in a positive light. We have surplus there or extra money there.
Right.
The R&R line item itself, no, we do not have enough funds to cover that.
Okay, and I did note, when we approved the funding, the original 110,000 funding back on September 25th, you included the minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was to come from water repair and replace fund and be reimbursable through the CDBG project. So apparently two things have happened. City staff have reevaluated and changed the recommendation of where it is allowed to come from. And then, it was not requested as part of the CDBG project, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And if it had been included in the CDBG, we would have been way over budget.
Yes, that is correct, sir.
We would have had to pay for this anyway,
Regardless,
regardless. And we had to have it done early to get the road repaved.
correct.
For the
And
county.
if we didn't get it done in the fashion that we did, our cost would have doubled to do a directional drill in lieu of the open cut that we did.
Yes.
I mean, this came
Got it.
out like within, that's why it says emergency.
It was
in the
very
minutes.
quick.
It's an emergency in the minutes.
Yes.
Because
right,
how this came about.
Well, and I'm just glad that we could get it done that quickly and we got we got it done.
Yes.
The road got repaved when we're moving forward, so we don't always respond that quickly. We can't always sometimes.
Yes.
But I'm glad we did.
Another thing that I'd like to do if we can, because it's part of the project, and I just thought about it, I didn't think about it when we were doing this. I did finalize a conversation with J.R. Grimes with the county, and they originally had a $13,000 bill that would included additional asphalt work for that project and mobilization fee. They're going to pick up the work for the asphalt, and they're asking for us to cover the mobilization fee of $3,500. Because it was part of that project, I believe we can take it out of these funds and add the 3,500 to the 109,635, if that's okay.
So you need an additional.
Yes, and we have plenty of funds to do so, yes.
To do that from.
Yes,
So,
because we don't have it in the general
so
fund for
just
that.
for clarity though, when we entered into this, that was the understanding all along, that in order to do that, it would be about 3,500, correct? And then they
yes.
came back after the fact and said, oh, by the way,
It's
this
13,
is how much it is.
yes.
And, so thank you for going, for digging your heels in on that one, because that's what we agreed to initially.
Yes, it is.
Can I,
Yes, sir.
bring up something? I just looked in our code though for the repair, as we call it, the repair and replace fund. Because it is a separate line item that's on our water bills. We pay 10%, to our water and sewer. In here, it says that the water and sewer plant expansion fund, the monies placed in the water plant expansion fund shall be used for the expansion, replacement, or improvement of the city water facility in such manner and at such times as the city commission shall from time to time determine. The monies placed in the wastewater treatment plant shall be for expansion, replacement, or improvement of the city wastewater treatment facility. And so it goes on. So it doesn't necessarily have to replace one for one. It's
Okay.
for expansion, upgrades, anything. But that's the only thing that fund can be used for.
Right.
So it is set aside separately and we are charged, we pay separate fees into that. But I'm okay with, the determination that you made here, if we want to move forward on that.
And in talking with Steve, he said that there wasn't funds available at this time for that.
There's not.
Not for that.
In the
In the
R&R,
R&R, yes.
Is there a portion of them?
He didn't feel comfortable using that account at this time.
Keith?
Overall account is okay. It's just that line item until, it's a rolling account. So it's continuing, year after year. He says it's getting better, but he doesn't want to put that on that account at this time.
Commissioner DeVito?
I thought, you had a very fair question to say, was there enough to pay for part of this? Because, if that's what it's for, I'm not really sure why we shouldn't use it for that, although, I guess the worst case scenario, if we use part of the repair and replace funds, and that was why I asked the original question, because it seemed like that was very narrow reading of the authorization for use of the money. The worst case scenario, we use the R&R funds, and then we spend all of better place plan funds for something else. We can always use better place plan money for something that the water system needs. I guess but this seems a fair solution. We can, but I thought your question was also a very good question.
Well, I think as we come, because you shared with me, I think we've got something else coming up, correct? That we possibly might have to do some repairs on. Didn't we have
Remind me, I
Down here.
apologize.
didn't we have
Oh, down here for the storm?
yes.
Yes, but we do have some funds in there in the general fund to cover some of those. We don't know what that easement will look like once we video that. I was under the impression that was completed, but I found out recently that it did not get completed.
And I'm talking about whatever happened Monday night or last night, that Jason was called in.
Oh, yes, so that will be, I'm sorry, so there's many things going on.
I know,
Yes,
I
so.
apologize, I wasn't clear on that.
Oh, it's back up and running.
Is it, and I thought that if I didn't hear anything, that it probably did, so right now we're okay, yes, right now we're okay.
Okay.
Last time I heard they were trying to fix it without having to replace it. so-
They got it back up and running. They got some parts coming for it.
Good.
We're back,
Okay,
good to go. So
okay.
once we get all straightened out, we might want to order a backup motor for that particular item because it is the wells that furnish the city with the water.
With the water.
One of them went down, but it was a thermal switch that went bad. So the electricians ordered a new one. He's gonna put it in next week.
But in the meantime, everything is operational.
And we talked about, we're gonna be putting that in the budget for next year for replacement, or at least having the money back up to replace it. Maybe have an extra one on the side.
Okay. So right now, you're looking at taking everything out of the better place, and you want to add an additional $3,500 to meet that cost to the county.
Yes, ma'am. And the county did tell me if we wanted to spend half of it this year and this FY, they would be willing to take the other half next year.
I think we should just
So that is up to the
pay and
commission.
get it,
Yeah, let's just pay it.
Okay.
and get it done.
Yes,
You
sir.
don't need to be sharing stuff off like that.
No,
Okay.
If we can afford it, I mean.
Sure.
I agree. So I currently have a motion to approve the resolution, accept the resolution with the proper changes that have been proposed. That was made by Commissioner Lori, and Commissioner Burton seconded that.
If I add the 3,500, it's 113,174 is the total.
So that's separate from the resolution though.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
different, so do you want to, how do you want to add that? Do we need to add that into this resolution, or do we just need to do that as a separate item?
It is part of the project. We could put it and add that number to this resolution and just have it in one vote.
Okay, so you're gonna have to change the language in here. So and separate those out, so it's 109 for the,
Yeah.
for
So
the,
109,674,
yes,
and then the 3,500
yes.
for the mobilization. So that's the total is
So we
113.
I'll separate them on there.
So Mayor, if I could just clarify, we're adding an additional 3,500 to be paid to the county for something called mobilization fee for the 308 road project?
Yes.
Okay.
A remobilization.
Remobilization.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is in essence, I guess, they
Stopped.
stopped and they had to come back, so it was,
In other words, to accommodate our
yes.
project.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We have that. Commissioners, do we have any other concerns, any other questions regarding this? Okay. If everyone is okay, Ms. Taylor, if you do a roll call for us, please. We have a proper motion and second.
Commissioner DeVito,
Aye.
Commissioner Lord,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Mayor Myers,
Aye. Okay, so approved?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Out of curiosity, if we do decide that there is money in the repair and replace, do we pay back that place plan fund?
We can transfer, inter-transfer, so.
Because I think we might, I mean, as
That
things work
would be,
out,
yeah.
if we, because like Commissioner Revere said, I mean, better place plan does have more freedom as far as what we can use it for. Sure. As repair and replace obviously is confined to this.
Yes.
But I mean, we do use better place for projects, but we also kind of want to leave it available.
Yes.
So, if we can maybe research that and see if those numbers.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, if I get it, I think that Commissioner Roy's suggestion is very well made, and I would like to see us keep tabs on that to see if we could possibly repay the money to better place outside.
I agree with that. I think that's kind of the direction I was going to with that, is that, okay. While we're here, we had a workshop scheduled with a partnership, and I don't know if everyone, we don't have Rachel's schedule. I know she wants to, I think, talk to her board and get the board involved. My understanding in this meeting as well, it kind of came about very quickly.
That's my fault.
That's not,
Well, we both,
Yeah.
because we wanted to get it done so that, Tim was pressuring us to, I think we got a little too excited and
we
too
did,
early.
and I wasn't in, so.
I didn't think about it either.
So anyway, if everybody wants to kind of, either give dates today or give dates, I think our next, we've got they'll have a meeting on April 6th. They should have their first meeting on April 6th. I know that we've got April 8th, if we wanted to do it on April 8th. We could do a workshop on that date, when everybody else is available, and then the following week,
We have workshops,
we already have a golf cart, and we have a, security at 1 o'clock.
we got that. So we went, I think the 8th might be the best option.
So if everybody would look at their calendar and see what the 8th looks like.
I can't do it.
You can't do it the 8th? Tim won't be here, will he?
Oh, that's right.
When's he
He's
going?
gonna be in
He's
Europe.
gonna be in
Yeah,
Europe
first,
for
yeah.
11 days or 10 days. So that might move us towards the end of, we'll talk about that then, I guess, at our next commission meeting on May 9th.
And Mayor, if I could,
Yes.
if we could get some dates from the partnership that they want to suggest to us, and then we can all look at our calendars, that might help a great deal.
Yes, I think
Well,
ours
I
though
won't
is
be
more
available until
difficult
after November 9th, so.
till after November
November
9th.
9th?
You give me a call.
Okay.
I don't know if the mayor is that.
I do, okay. But ours is probably, I mean, I think if we give them some dates, a couple of dates, ours is a little more difficult than theirs possibly to coordinate, but we can certainly do that, find out. And April is going to be a big month. I do want to share with everybody, Catfish Festival is Saturday the 4th.
Yes.
2
2 weeks from Saturday.
2 weeks from Saturday, and the parade starts at 11 o'clock. They have requested for all the commissioners, if you are available, please be there
Yes.
in the parade. And then the following weekend, we have the boat races. That's also gonna be a big weekend. I won't be here, but I'm sure many of you, and please, participate. They are having, South Putnam is having Easter in the Park on Sunday the 5th. And then the 18th, the
South Putnam Church.
South Putnam Church, yes. And then the 18th, they've got, the partnership is doing their, art and, their music and art festival. And then the weekend of May 2nd, we've got a lot going on. May 2nd, they're doing the concert in the park. Ernie Evans is doing that. And he's got Wanda Vincent coming to that. And that's gonna be, I think, from 10 to 4. From 10 to 4 in the afternoon. I'm hoping still, I mean, everything is on schedule. We'll get that out to do the 28th, to start a city cleanup then and do as much as we can at 9 o'clock that morning for anybody that can come out. I know a lot's going on that day, but we can pick up throughout the week. I've asked, Mr. Martin to please have the truck here, the dump truck here, so that we can possibly put stuff in there, if anybody needs to. And another thing that we're doing, just for everybody to know, is we've got to do shredding. And years ago, they used to open it up to the general public. It costs the public, but I've talked to Sheila and possibly doing the shredding machine over in the lot next to the annex, to where they've set that up to where the general public can come in and pay to have shredding. I don't know for any of y'all that have shredding. I've got a lot of shredding. Everybody probably has stuff to be shredded. They'll charge a minimal fee, but they're here and it's a benefit. So we'll make an announcement. We probably will do that sometime. I would think sometime in the 1st of May.
Okay, so may I have a question about the shredding?
Yes.
So this is a private company, and if citizens take advantage of it, I guess the city's contracting for it?
We have to, yeah, we've got a lot that has to be shredded, that needed to be shredded some time ago.
So does a private citizen pay the city, or do they pay the company?
You pay the company.
Okay.
You pay the company. They'll be there on site to do that. They've done that in the past. They've offered this service in the past, and several people have asked me about it. And so, we've kind of put it off. We were gonna do it last year and ended up, a lot of things happened. We had a lot of changeover, didn't happen. And so I know Sheila's working on that with, Melanie, I believe, right now. So that'll be a big bonus to the citizens, for those of you that need stuff shredded.
What's the date again on the cleanup?
28th.
28th, I put it on my.
The 28th. Does anybody have anything else?
Me.
Yes, ma'am.
My sorority does, Autism Awareness Month. They would like to know if they could do a short presentation in the April meeting. Okay, all right, I'll tell them.
we'll put them in the presentation portion.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that to us.
Do they want us to do a proclamation?
Do they want us to do a proclamation, or they just want to do,
That would be nice.
you work with Mr. Martin on that, we can do a proclamation and give that to them. Thank you for recognizing that. And we've got Northeast Florida League of Cities is the 19th, it's this Thursday, tomorrow. It's gonna be in Green Cove. The next one in April, and I'm gonna share with y'all that if you want to get yours in, the next one is gonna be in Fernandina Beach. Get it in early.
I'd like to go, haven't been to one yet.
For those that, I am driving over and driving back that day. Right now, they will have, I believe, a block of rooms for people at the Hampton. But if anybody wants to stay over, that's a hall. But
I'm sorry, what is this for?
Northeast Florida.
Northeast Florida League of Cities in April,
Oh, April?
April 16th,
Well, no, you're saying, I'm gonna say, okay.
April. This one.
March now, yeah.
Yeah, it's March now. Tomorrow's is in Green Cove.
Time is moving, really.
Okay, if everybody else is,
Mayor, I have just a couple of
Yes.
items, if I could. So, first of all, I guess we all probably got emails that said the legislature has adjourned, but they're going to come back into session in April to do the budget. So that means, our budget request is up in the air, along with a lot of other things. As well, there were, I think, one version of the sovereign immunity bill passed. Commissioner Burton and Commissioner Lori will remember that was the bill that we spoke to. The limits are going up, but in a more favorable version. So hopefully the League of Cities had a significant impact on that. There is a bill that passed. There were two bills that affected municipal utilities. One did not pass, the other did. The one,
And we do extra territorial surcharges.
right, and I think there were amendments on the floor. The original bill was gonna prohibit our utilities from charging a surcharge for extra territorial. It may have been amended so that we can charge the fee, but
It was.
it was, okay, I thought so. I
We can
didn't wanna say
the
the
25%, we can't do the 50, which
Right.
is, we don't do that here.
Right.
But there is still, we have to do a hearing.
Right, there are,
Yeah.
this is the,
There's some
also the
more
significant
requirements.
part,
Yeah.
there are some very significant hearing requirements that we will have to do, I believe. So the bottom line is, the city is going to have to, assuming the governor doesn't veto it, and I've not heard anything that that's likely, we will have to investigate it, become familiar with it, and do everything that's required, and that may be requiring an annual report to the Public Service Commission
Yes,
that,
starting in
Did not.
2027, January
right,
2027.
that was not a requirement before. And then the other thing is, there's been quite a bit of comment on social media and quite a few news articles about the Aldi conversion. And Mayor, thank you, you sent a letter to the Aldi leadership in Batavia, Illinois.
yes.
Did it go to a specific person?
Well, this, actually, we finalized it, Melanie got it formatted for me. And so it's going out now, and there is a specific, group that it goes to. They're also in Haines City. And it
Okay.
looks like they have the regional offices in Haines City, and so we've got the address for that too. So I'm gonna copy that in Haines City and sending that to Haines City.
Do y'all have your protest signs up here in the city? Or you haven't done that yet?
Well, I'm not sure that a public protest is the thing, but I just wanted to share with you two concerns or two thoughts that occurred to me about this. The original Aldis that we all saw in Florida were in larger metro areas. You would see an Aldi's near other a variety of other grocery stores. It's my understanding that communities like Monticello outside of Tallahassee that recently converted and South Putnam are in a very new situation. And that new situation is that there will not be a full-service grocery store for 30 to 35 miles in either direction. Some of us have spoken to the chamber about it. And really, it concerns me a great deal, and I think we should put some thought to this. Our Putnam Chamber, they're an award-winning chamber, they've put quite a bit of thought and effort into ideas about how to recruit business for Putnam County. Over the years, I think a number of years ago, Mayor, this was before you were elected mayor, we were asked to fund, to help fund a contract with Retail Strategies to bring in businesses. I don't know that they have sufficient understanding of the impact that this change is going to have on South Putnam. And I think any reasonable economic development effort for the county needs to pay some attention to that, and it's our responsibility. I think it's something we should be talking about with Willaca and Pomona Park, as well as maybe North Volusia. Someone published plans or an ad that Aldi's has that shows they're gonna be leasing spaces.
It's out on LoopNet.
I don't know what LoopNet is, but
It's a retail real estate.
Right.
It's where you do commercial real estate.
So it just occurred to me, I don't know the impact that this has had so far in Monticello. Monticello may be in the situation that their store is closed and not reopened as an Aldi. But I am really questioning if the Aldi store is gonna be significantly smaller.
It is.
Okay,
That Winn-Dixie is a very large, one of the largest Winn-Dixies
right,
ever
I understand that, but I shop at different grocery stores.
Quite two Aldi's.
It occurs to me as a great concern, that we may have people standing in long lines just to buy groceries around here. Because if the store is not big enough and does not have the merchandise or doesn't have the cashiers, it's not going to be an optional, it's not gonna be an optional store, it's gonna be one of our main sources of groceries. And it's a concern, and I don't know if any other community has had the experience of having Aldi's be their only or one of their only two grocery stores in the past, and what that impact is going to be.
Monticello, I've spoken to Monticello, and of course it hasn't reopened. I don't believe it is.
Right, so they're in the closure phase.
So they've closed.
Right.
They closed, and so they don't know the impact that's going to have. And, you know, Commissioner DeVito, this is the only time that we can all communicate on this.
Yeah.
And so publicly, I don't want to, I've had conversations with the chamber.
Sure.
I've had conversations with others. And, it's all in how it impacts. It's a direct impact and an indirect impact. We are taking a direct impact. Others outside our area are taking an indirect, and so they're looking at it from a different perspective. We're looking at it from, you think about the sales tax that a full service brings in, that comes back into our better place
I
to benefit
understand
our
that.
community. These are some of the things, we talk about jobs.
Right.
And for 8 months to a year, those 83 jobs are going to go elsewhere. Save a Lot is trying, Mary is really trying, she stepped up and she's trying to hire some of them, but she's also limited with staff that, she can bring in. When I spoke to, and we've spoken to Retail Strategies about this, I believe you were in the office when we had that conversation with Retail Strategies. Spoke to the chamber, and, the chamber felt like, that we would have other alternatives, not understanding that we had, limitations with some of our elderly and some of those people with limited transportation, but,
They did anyway, so
yeah, so,
they've always had room, as, transportation.
So it wasn't, and I understand where you come from, is we can offer, but it's still gonna be a grocery store, so I don't know how that benefits us by offering any type of incentive to Aldi, as far as a tax break or anything.
I was proposing offering.
Okay, that's what
Aldi
you had in the past, I thought,
No,
when you talked about that.
to the grocer that sold it to the other one, to take it to
To
that.
Winn-Dixie, well, I
Yeah.
don't think, and what you have to understand, and this is, it's a business, it's a corporate, and in the grocery world, they're looking at dollars. This is a high-producing store down the road, a very high-producing Winn-Dixie.
And hopefully now will be a high producing Aldi's.
And
That's the hope.
And so if you're in a business setting and you're looking at that, that's one of the ones that you're gonna capture. That's the ones you want to probably hold on to because you know it's going to produce a certain amount, at least you hope. So,
Okay, well, wait, but Mayor, you're arguing against.
no, I'm not.
Aldi.
No, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
saying this is why Aldi is not letting go of that store.
Because they think it will be high producing. Okay, but my point right now is something different. We are about to be.
Commissioner Burton, if you want, you need to leave.
The meeting has not been adjourned.
Right.
It's
You
not
should-
adjourned. We can still, we're discussing. We're not making a decision. We're just discussing.
But you could adjourn the meeting and then take on your.
We cannot adjourn.
we cannot do that.
We cannot talk
Outside of the
outside of
sunshine.
that on something. We cannot speak. That's why I said that we can't talk individually on this. So,
Okay, let me,
So I have
before
an
we,
adjourn.
we're all talking about Aldi's, okay? I'm not talking about Aldi's and I'm not talking about, I don't care which grocery store stays or comes to us. What I'm interested in is the impact fees that the county commission has put on us. Is that still gonna happen, all these new impact fees?
right now, the impact fees, I just got a study from, I asked for Mark to look at the impact fees, so I had something to go to the mayors, and so we are supposed to meet and talk about it because it impacts all the municipalities.
Right.
And so he gave me just a few talking points. I really haven't had a chance to delve into that. I got that at the end of last week, and so I was gonna hand it out to all of you, so you knew that too.
Well, the impact fees, I think, will have more of an impact than the grocery store, but that's just my opinion at right now, okay? A grocery store, I don't care about those necessarily. But these impact fees, if we don't have the right sales pitch for people to come and move and come into Crescent City, and for other businesses to come in and help, I don't know where we're going.
And that
But anyway,
absolutely,
so I feel that maybe there should be some type of importance put on that as well.
Yes.
yes,
If I may, off subject, but still with our city, I just got a call from Don Holmes. I was trying to put him and the two attorneys together for the MOU completion for Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts is probably about a week away from closing, just to let y'all know. And then he's gonna start really hitting that property hard to get it developed. I also got an email from Chris. They have completed, this is for Lockside, they completed their site plan and was asking questions about inspection. I've got him in touch with Margaret and the county. Hopefully they'll have that within this week inspected, and then he's gonna let me know on an opening date. They didn't wanna prematurely put it out, but they're ready to open. They're ready to go.
Now, we've had some
Just wanted to update you.
housing things going on. I don't know if that's still a go, there were a lot of kind of irons in the fire.
did you ever hear anything from the people that were gonna do 100 houses over in the Orange Grove area
I have
off
not,
of Junction?
I have not heard
You haven't
anything.
heard anything back on them?
I haven't heard anything
So
on
that's
that.
probably, good place.
13 homes over here on Cherry, have you heard much on that?
They're waiting on us on the appropriations. They'd like to see if we could,
The appropriation so
Yes.
that we can share the cost.
they're gonna have an answer and
Does everybody understand that and what the holdup is there? So right now, there's no sewer service there.
correct.
And they have an opportunity to go, septic. They could go ahead and develop that 13 homes for septic in that area. we've basically talked to them about possibly if we get this appropriations, they would pay a portion of this so that we could split that project and keeping them from going to septic and go on sewer. And so they're gonna weigh it out to
Yeah.
see if it's in their benefit.
Right.
It's in our benefit if they will let us, if they'll wait and go on sewer, because otherwise we'll end up being a septic to sewer conversion at some point in time, and we don't want to do
It
that.
saves them, they're gonna be spending $13,000 to $20,000 per home for their systems. If they go with us, of course, they save that money, but at the same time, environmentally, it's better for us as everything grows, because the lake is right there.
But we don't have the funds to
We
take
don't-
that
we don't.
on without a legislative appropriation
Correct.
to do that other side of that would need in order to run sewer to that property.
The bids did come in a lot lower, I believe 338,000, and Kate left it at like around 300, low 300s for that project. We had initially thought it was about $500,000, so we're waiting.
The impact fees, and then we'll get back to Winn-Dixie, but the impact fees, based on what I was able to, what I read through from him, and if you'll go ahead and forward that on to the commissioners,
Yes, ma'am.
please.
Will do.
Unfortunately, it looks to me as if the impact fees that were set up and established by the county, there's not a whole lot that we can do about those. What we would have to do, and this is something I think that all the municipalities are going to have to do, is we would have to establish our own impact fees to offset those.
Right.
And if we did that, then ours would come to us and it wouldn't go to the county because you can't double dip in impact fees.
So is somebody working on that?
So that's something that we'll have to do, and that's gonna cost, and we're gonna have to do an impact study.
Yeah.
Because it's been too long since we put a moratorium on any impact fees.
Correct, and we preliminarily, we've got some numbers, and the numbers are, for that type of study, it's a very extensive study, it's expensive, thousands and thousands of dollars. However, we are working with the ASCU School, Public Administration and FSU right now on internal controls and financial policy. And I've talked to the professor, the lead that oversees that whole department. And next year, they are combining the pre-capstone and capstone, and he said they will most likely be able to provide a more extensive and possibly even be able to assist the city in doing a study, an actual certified study on it. Yeah. So that would save us a lot of money.
Yeah,
Because the unfortunate part is there's only 2 or 3 firms that are providing to do those impact fee studies. Plaquemine just went through theirs 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The people that, I think the county used the same, and it was, I mean, they can name their own price.
It could be $50,000.
There's only a few people.
Yeah.
But we had the guy come here, to this commission.
Yes, he did.
Actually, when Charles Rudd was here, right before I was elected.
Yes.
And I don't remember what the estimate was, something, it was like 200, something around 880,000 or something.
Yeah, it could be as low as 50, so what we were told was
Yeah.
as low as 50,000, as high as 150,000.
Depends on
How many universities do it?
how many categories you also do, too.
Because I don't think it was in
I don't-
that
yeah.
neighborhood, I think it was more between 50 and 100.
I thought it was between 50.
And we had talked about
Well, Charles,
ways to,
on the,
we talked about ways to reduce the cost. And the firm talked about ways to reduce the cost, but it is a significant sum of money.
So currently, and the biggest thing that was recommended is that we monitor, from my takeaway from what I read, is that we monitor how those monies are being allocated when they come in, because number one, we're paying for infrastructure. Well, that doesn't affect us at all. Roads, and that's what has been said to me whenever I challenged them on it. Well, I can drive to Palaca, I can drive pretty much anywhere I need to go and not get on a county road if I don't want to. And so that's, another thing that, you can drive to Palaca, we can drive to Melrose, Gainesville, a lot of places and not have to get on a county road. So those are some things that are part of that. And parks, I'm like, what parks do you have here in Crescent City?
Right.
And so we don't have any, but you might use one of their parks. Well, I'm not sure, but our students do go to the park over here and they play right at South Putnam Fields.
Mhm.
You know, so some of our students here in the city,
Maybe if I could,
yes,
more people from the county, I would guess, come to use our facilities, including our bathrooms,
yes.
currently than use county parks.
So these impact fees are, I think the biggest thing with the mayors is that all the commissioners did this without
Didn't even talk to you.
talking to us or bringing us into the discussion.
Total disrespect.
And my understanding from those that I've spoken to is that they didn't really even realize when they were going through this process that it was going to impact the municipalities until after it was done. The problem too is you cannot, so you can't offer, if somebody comes in here to Crescent City and says, you know, we'll build, can you handle our impact fees? Somebody has to pay those. Either we pay them, the county pays them, or the developer pays them. They have to be paid. There's no giving them a waiver out of it. So we won't. Now, all these, that's a current grocery store. They would not, because it's an existing building. And I think that's why Mr. Griffey's doing that with Dunkin' Donuts.
On that building
And
that's
not
already there.
Take that old building
Yeah,
down.
see, and I understand all that, but we've gotta have a way
Future
to.
development, we've got to, and I think the biggest thing is what we're gonna have to look at, and we're gonna have to probably, Derek, y'all are gonna have to look at funding and how we just go ahead and do it, so we have our own, because we really want these impact fees to benefit us.
Yes, exactly.
You know, we really want them
That's the
to
problem
benefit
in
us.
the county's ordinances, there's nothing in regard to how they're going to put that money back into our community or any other.
They don't have to.
They don't have that, yeah.
They don't
The
have
only thing that.
Now, the other thing, we're gonna have a nursing home.
to. Up for
okay,
sale.
Up for sale. So I'm gonna assume that it's gonna go back into private hands.
So, yeah, it should.
So
We're not
they're gonna have
buying it,
tax
so
rolls.
No, I know we're not
Yeah.
buying it. Okay.
So that's
We're not, that's.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Commissioner Burton. Could-
Well,
could
the-
Mike stop?
the nursing home.
Yeah, the nursing home.
No, just that last part. The county, that you made a comment about it, the very last sentence she said.
We're doing the private hands.
It goes
Yeah,
into
right.
private hands, which
It goes-
means it'll go back on the tax roll.
Which is
Right.
good for us,
Yes.
but you know, then I'm hearing in another round, you know, for some reason, I just know a lot of doctors and nurses for some reason right now. But they're saying that that's gonna impact this area if it goes into private hands and they take it down, it's no longer a nursing home.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, that will be that's another interesting thing that may happen to us, so, you know, I'm just saying, there's stuff going on, stuff that hopefully will benefit us, but stuff that who knows, you know,
It's
there's a lot
gonna
of,
have a detrimental impact. on
yeah,
us,
there's a
too.
lot of stuff going on, so.
And we have a lot of our older, population, even recovery, even not even older, but they go there for recovery,
Yes.
that's gonna be an impact, so.
So anyway, now, man, I'm gonna leave and you guys can talk about groceries.
Okay, you are excused. Thank you.
Well, Commissioner Burton, if you would do me a favor to stay for one little moment. For one thing, I want to thank you for bringing up the impact fee issue, because that is very, very important. And as well as the nursing home issue, that is very, very important. They all relate to economic development, and my concerns about the type of grocery store that we have definitely relate to economic development. So you can, I cannot make you stay here, but my focus is serving our citizens and our businesses and making sure that we're in the right posture for economic development. So,
Well, but I don't feel it's my business to get into their business.
well, okay,
That's all,
and
just
I
simple.
know
I'm
that
a
you think
simple-minded
We're not
person.
gonna.
But, Mayor, if I could, about your point about it's a business decision,
Yes.
that
Are you done?
I am done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Could I follow up on your point? I'm very aware that all businesses make business decisions. Some of them make community-oriented decisions to sponsor local events or provide free benefits to organizations. We routinely requests through community organizations in the CRA to businesses to donate to us. But really, every business makes business decisions. We have a chamber that is supposed to help with economic development. That chamber is in many ways significantly supported by not only businesses, but our governments. We are members of that chamber. They administer, as I understand it, the tourism development tax funds.
I'm on that, I am on that.
Yes, I know that, but I'm
Yes.
saying that that is a,
And they do support us in that effort. Every
Okay.
time we have an event, they do try to.
that's the small picture, the small picture. They try to develop opportunities for businesses to come here. The lack of a full-service grocery store, I feel that the people in Palatka do not have a significant and sufficient understanding of the impact on the local economies. I will give you, for example, we have a new restaurant coming in. Restaurants usually have suppliers, however, restaurants frequently have to make small supplemental purchases, and they go to local grocery stores to do that. I would be very curious to know what the feeling is in the restaurant community about not having a full-service grocery store. We have people who come to town here to stay at Airbnbs and RV parks. I am very curious about what the impact is going to be, both on our sales tax and also not only just their willingness to come here and stay as long as they do when they don't have a full-service grocery store. Many of those people cook, they buy temporary supplies, and to me, it's our job as a city government, and I think that this is something, again, we should be talking to both the county and the other municipalities in South Putnam about is, you know, can we do anything at the last ditch effort to try to get a full service grocery store to stay, or in the future, what are going to be the needs of our businesses and our residents for grocery service? Is all these going to be adequate? Can we do anything to ameliorate any possible negative impact? And to me, there's no point having, the whole point of the chamber is to try to help us economically. I think this is a worthy issue for them to look at. And I've not really seen anyone give that sufficient attention. But to me, I would appreciate it if you would bring the
I
issue
will
up.
reach out again to Laura. Like I said, I've spoken to Laura and it's a direct and indirect impact. And this is not something, I just had a conversation with somebody just before we came in here. And I said, you have no idea the devastation that I'm feeling and the responsibility I'm feeling right now because of the impact this is going to have on not only our community, but the surrounding communities and those people that are wanting to come to our area and utilize that full service grocery store. The Aldi's model, and I have been told by those in the industry that they have a very strict model, and so does Trader Joe, and their brothers that split off, but those models don't deviate. And they stick with those models. They don't
They're both on
deviate.
Huge expansion kicks.
They both are on huge expansion
They are
kicks.
really tearing up, trying to go all over the country.
And people, when I had that conversation with somebody last week, and I think it was last week, I don't know, everything's running together right now, but last week, and they said, okay, you're getting all these, that's great. I'm like, you do
Like,
not
they're losing.
understand, you do not understand what we are losing, what we're giving up in order to get that, in order to get that, for that to happen. And once I sat down and I explained it to them,
Yes.
they were like, oh, wow.
Right, so ma'am, hold that thought. Very unfortunately, really, this is the kind of thing, there are big economic forces out there moving around. And this is the kind of thing that small towns like Crescent City, Monticello, Palatka, need to pay attention to. For example, this has been coming for a while, and you brought it to our attention. Last year, we could have had an opportunity, and we could have joined with other municipalities. The kind of thing you could do, and this is what the state does for other issues and other communities, pardon me. There's no fund in the state budget or for the Department of Commerce to try to retain a certain level of grocery service. There could be if small towns had asked for it. I mean, there are things that go into the economic mix that the state funds. They create incentives for things. They paid, for example, for our comp plan update. So, for example, small towns could have gotten together last year and gone to Department of Economic Opportunity, gone to the governor's staff, said, this is an economic development issue. We need you to assist us with a program for this particular area. I think that's the kind of thing all small towns, particularly in the top half of the state, need to be really aware of. And my concern is, if Aldi's is gonna be here, and frankly, I don't think that we should give up. Thank you for the letter, and we should follow up. We need to look at what do we have, what do we need? Is there anything else we can do to provide those needed services? And that's a conversation that I think we're gonna have with local businesses and with the other municipalities in South Putnam. And whoever it was you were talking to when you explained it to them so that they understood, I think that's something the county and the chamber need to understand.
I
So
agree. I don't
can you
know.
package that?
And I mean, I've tried, I can try, I mean, I have, goodness knows, I have my elevator speech when it
Right.
comes to that. You know, and if you read the paper the other day, Saturday's paper, I even stated in there that hopefully this will be an opportunity for other businesses. You didn't read the paper? I've got it in my office. This will be an opportunity for other businesses to pick up, you know, a bakery, a deli.
Right.
I mean, these are things that if anybody had any idea how much that deli does,
Yes.
you know, and all of that's prepared foods that goes into sales tax that comes back
Exactly.
into our better place.
Yes.
And so, you know, Commissioner DeVito, I mean, we shouldn't be the ones to do this, but, you know, the residents, pick it on. Stand out there and pick it on. You know, I don't know what else to tell them to do. You know, because even I got a phone call earlier and asked me if they're not they've reached out to them and nobody's contacted them. And I said, they've never reached out to us. They've never returned anything.
Right.
They've never responded. And I gave them more names and places. And
Of
it's
people to contact us.
Yes. at Aldi. And so I said, you know, this is if everybody, but you know, I understand what you're saying, but again, it's the direct and the indirect. I think we here see this, you know, look what happened to our pharmacy, and I had that conversation earlier. We are still reeling from the closure of that pharmacy. We still have residents that struggle because of that, and our community pharmacy has tried as best as they can, but they're limited in what they have available to them too.
Yes, and could I jump in for just a second?
Excuse
You
me,
need to go.
I'm so sorry. Yes, I have an interview to conduct. If I can be dismissed, I appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Just to wrap it up, Mayor, I know you put a lot of thought into this. I think that what happens with the community pharmacy goes to my point that just like large communities engage in economic development issues, it behooves small communities to do the same thing. And my concern about, I don't think it's gonna be so easy to replace what Winn-Dixie had, just like the pharmacy, because there is strength in a larger organization. It's much more difficult for a small, individually owned store to have those long hours, to have the same breadth of supply. It just is. So in other words, maybe we would get a deli, but it's probably not gonna be open from,
I understand.
you know, there's just not the same capacity. I know in my old neighborhood in Tampa that got flooded, the former retail pharmacy, that was completely flooded out. They've opened for pharmacy. They have not been able to swing opening for retail, just because it's hard for them. So I guess, thank you for what you've done. If you could, anything that you've shared with residents about contact persons at Aldi's, if you would be so good as to share with the rest of us, I'd appreciate that. And thank you very much for the letter. And I saw you made the change that Commissioner Roy and I suggested. So I
I think
think,
it's in there twice.
I think that's the least we can
Play
do.
around to that twice.
Yes.
That's
But it's
worth improvement, worth mentioning.
It's very much so. So it's apparent to me that looking at the big picture with economic development as opposed to the individual events or the individual stores is important for small towns. I think this is a new reality.
And Mocklee's dealt with the same thing down in Immokalee. I mean, they're limited. We don't necessarily qualify, because several people have said, even in talking to I talked to some county commissioners last week, and, they suggested about this being a food desert, creating a food
Correct.
desert.
Right.
By USDA standards, yes, because it's more than 10 miles, because we're in a rural area. However, we can't necessarily say that, because Save-A-Lot does offer, they offer produce, they offer cut meat. I mean, they offer, they have a meat cutter in there.
Has meat, I mean.
And
they
all
have
these has
prepackaged
meat, it's
In fact,
prepackaged,
my
you just can't go in there and say, hey,
brother's-
can you divide this up, or hey, I want these cut.
Well,
My brother's a chef. and he
I
fixes
will
food.
have to say,
I said that's, an option, sorry.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Roy, there is going to be less food service available. And some people, particularly, visitors, tourists, and people with very limited means who don't have the ability to cook at home are going to be impacted by the lack of availability of prepared foods. I mean, some people just can't or don't, they're not able to cook. But some people don't have kitchens. But anyway, I think we would benefit from a little more attention by the county commission. They seem, both with the impact fees and with the impact of the grocery store situation, they just don't seem enough aware of the needs of the South County. And that is, we need to fix that.
Historically,
I know, but
Historically,
it can be fixed.
when JR Newbold was elected, that's one of the first things I told him, when he was running for office, I said, the relationship between the municipalities and the county needs to be fixed. It is so, at times adversarial or just distant. And I think he knows that, and I've talked to him several times about it. And, I have
Well, that was-
I know you communicate with them, I communicate with them, as much. And I even had talked to him when the whole impact fee thing was going on. And at the time, he even had their director of planning call me and talk to me, and he said at the time, they weren't even looking at the municipalities, and they said it wasn't going to affect them. They said, but it might, we won't know. And I'm just like, well, that's not,
Yeah.
But it was not their intention, I don't believe. It just happened.
that's what they
And then-
shared with me too.
yeah.
It was never their intention, and we all
Right.
thought that we
But
were
it would be
eliminating.
great, to have
But
more communication.
To Commissioner Pickens' credit too, though, I have to say that he by all means was a South Putnam cheerleader for
Oh,
us.
yeah.
I mean, it was everything that he did, tried to do, it was making sure that South Putnam, so he, Commissioner Pickens did. The biggest thing is getting a seat at the table, and oftentimes, and I'm gonna say this, that oftentimes us being adversarial does not necessarily get us a seat at the table that we hope for. And so I've tried really hard to work on those relationships with those in Palatka and with the other
Communication, just
municipalities,
that open
yes,
communication,
and
I
just
think.
have that so that they at least invite us in and we
Mhm.
have a seat at the table. I'll make sure I reach out to Laura again. I have a good working relationship with both Laura and Kimberly.
Mhm.
And now we've got, Mark has been replaced and she has been down here, and she met with Derek, to look at some things down here. I know that because we've told them that we have opportunities down here for industrial right outside the city limits. And that brings jobs. And there's areas here too. Mark and I had done that, and we had driven around extensively to look at opportunities down here. You know, it's, I think this is a long-standing conversation as South Putnam. We're South Putnam, we kind of sit once you go over the bridge. And we are getting more recognition, you know, I mean, they are, I think, they know that we're here, thanks to our county commissioners. You know, both Commissioner Pickens and Commissioner Harris. You know, they've tried, but it's them against, you know, they have 4 others that are looking out for their communities also.
So, and I'm not entirely sure, I have real reservations about their decision to sell the nursing home property because, as Commissioner Burton pointed out, it provides a service. And you referenced that as well. And you have to look at the big picture. You know, they're looking at it in terms of revenue,
Well,
but
I mean, the thing is that the county has done forever, since the state turned over indigent care to the
Right.
counties, and so so you guys can do it. So they've owned it, but they don't manage it, they lease it to a private company.
right, but
It's
it
been leased
provides,
for 20 years.
it provides an important service. Most of the people at that nursing home, it's my understanding, are funded by Medicaid. They can't afford to pay more, but,
Yeah.
so, you know, to me, there's a significant benefit, as the mayor mentioned, people can go to this nursing home for rehab and recovery. And there's a significant benefit to that. But, you know, that's,
But
I think,
I don't get it, because it's being run as a private company already, and county property, so they're not getting any tax benefits, and which has been the case for a very long time. We get the pilot, the payment in lieu of taxes of $5,000.
$5,000,
Which does
you
not-
know it should have been
I
higher.
guess, okay, but
I understand the
my
service
point is,
side,
you don't
yes.
necessarily want or need to make a profit off of a healthcare service for elderly and disabled people. You want to provide the service. And it's my understanding that that property was always intended to provide for healthcare.
And
There's a history to
hopefully with them putting, of course, just because somebody puts something up for sale
Does not mean it will be purchased.
does not mean it will be purchased. In the meantime, I think they get about $10,000 a month rent on that property. So they are getting a substantial amount of income on that property. And hopefully the way that property is set up, it is set up for a nursing home.
Yeah.
There are a lot of nursing home companies out there that possibly will come in and hopefully buy that up.
Including the one that's currently
Including the
running it,
one that's
managing it.
currently running it,
you know.
and so, and do whatever they need to, cause that nursing home needs, and my understanding is it needs some upgrades. So it does need
Sure.
it needs some upgrades, and so hopefully, we can only hope that the way it's set up, that somebody will step in and buy that, and especially when they're paying that kind of, you know, how much they're asking for it, but
But I don't think that the county tells them what the services they can run. I think the county has a contract with them and they run what the community needs, which is a Medicaid funded beds in a nursing, and a skilled nursing and a SNF.
I understand that part of it.
So I mean,
yes.
that, there's no reason that wouldn't continue on. If they're making money off of it, or they're making it work as it is, they'll continue to.
I think one of the biggest things is, you know, we've got to be very cognizant of the direction, because I feel like there are some days that we're going backwards. And this Winn-Dixie
Absolutely.
has really
Yes.
created that feeling for me, is that
Yes.
we're going backwards
Yes,
and not going forwards, and we want to move forward. We are Crescent City. We are a very special community. But I also know there's not a place in this town. I mean, you talk about a nursing home, there's not a place in town, and I found this out on Thursday, where you can go get a stitch.
Right.
right.
If you need stitches.
Exactly.
And so if you need stitches, and you've got to go to Palatka or Norman or Flagler or DeLand
Okay.
to even get stitches. And so that's another thing that we've really got to work on is how do we get an urgent care service here? And
Mayor, I will say this, and then I'm gonna suggest we adjourn, because we all have things to do, including for maintaining our own health. I share your concern that we're going backwards.
It's a word, so we felt like it.
so there are days.
Your feelings.
It's- Sometimes we take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. We're still ahead of where we were.
But I will
Always ahead of where we were. Go ahead.
tell you why our median income has dropped significantly. Our occupancy rate for residential lots in Crescent City is going down. We have been hollowed out, and so far we are not, that part has not turned around. We are looking more and more, to me, I'd hate to say this, in some ways like the very poor areas along 17 in North Volusia. And I don't want to see that happen. I know that we're working very hard, and my main point is that I think discussions like these, but more targeted, where we talk about the big picture issues and business recruitment of residents with a higher median income. I think we should look at what Miami Beach did. We're a wonderful place. We have great home sites for people to occupy. I think we need to look at raising our overall economic level, and that takes a lot of planning. We need to figure out ways to plan and ways to do outreach, in addition to things that we are already doing. It's hard.
And respectfully, Commissioner DeVito, I hear this a lot, we've got to fill these buildings, we have to build on these lots. It's a double-edged sword. People are not gonna invest in businesses if they don't have people to support them.
I wasn't talking about the commercial, I'm talking
No,
about the
I
residential.
know, but wait, let me finish, let me just
Yeah.
finish this train of thought that I'm on.
Okay.
So unfortunately, when I say it's a double-edged sword, but we don't necessarily have people willing to come in and develop because we don't have the stuff, I'm gonna say stuff, I don't know what stuff is. The conveniences of living in a more urban area, that a lot of the people that are moving here, that while they want to be in a quiet setting, they still want a lot of that. They're used to that, and it's a change of culture, it's a change of life. And so that's where I think we need to focus, is how do we appeal, how do we bring those together to where it can all work. Now I will say this, I've got in front of me, I have a couple that just bought, and they're fixing that, they're doing some changes, and they're moving into that house directly in front of me. The other house is I have 2 houses, the other 2 houses are under contract. Those are exciting. One of them that's about to close in a couple of days, they have 2 small children that are moving in there. And so that to me is very exciting. We're getting a new school, I think, a state-of-the-art school. I think that's gonna help us. Because that's always kind of a black eye that we have as far as our education system and what we offer. And I think that's going to be a huge benefit to us. And so I think it's a conversation that we're going to have. It's not something that does not weigh on each of our shoulders. Mine is, I'm sure all of you, 24/7. It's like, what do we do? What do we do? How do we bring Crescent City and make it all that it can be to everybody that wants to live here. And then I get people, and then we also get the people that, when I say something like that, it's like, we don't want more people here. We don't want more people here. I'm like, if we don't get more people here and we don't increase those property taxes, we're gonna be status quo and backwards
We're
possibly.
not borrowing. we're
So,
buying.
yes,
But there's a difference between being overwhelmed and just doing infill. And one question that I have that I think we need to address, I think we have more people moving to places like Paradise Shores and Georgetown and what is it, River Pines?
Whispering Pines.
Whispering Pines, that's it. Somehow, this takes some analysis, but there are more people living in Paradise Shores than I think live in Crescent City. And there are people moving there. And there are people moving to Whispering Pines, they're going gangbusters. I meet a lot of new Crescent City residents, but I find out they don't live in town. And I think it would be worth our while to figure out what attracts them there, how can we market, or maybe people do not realize the benefits of living in Crescent City. We can bring those forward. I don't know why people move there, sometimes my conversations are not long enough, but I think it would be a good idea to try to find out. But anyway, to me, this is very good discussion, and I appreciate everybody being willing to stay here and do it. I need to go.
Okay,